barricades whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
I'm muted. Holy shit. All right. Like, it would be one of these nights. I swear to God, one of these nights, I'm going to get my crap together and we're going to start out the way we're supposed to. Like, I was like, oh my God, as soon as I hit the button going on stage, it's going to put everybody else on stage like I did last time. So then I'm trying to remove them from stage. I removed my own effing video. So I killed that and didn't get my disclaimer. I'm a cluster. Oh, fuck, every single night. This is why this has got a parental advisory label in the corner, because I drop a few F-bombs. By the way, I had another one of those. DA, I would love your show if you didn't drop F-bombs. I'm out. I'm like, I get it. I am going to be unfriendly for families, that's for sure. And I'm going to be offensive to some people, that's for sure. So I don't take offense if I'm not your cup of tea. I get it. My panelists, they don't drop as many F-bombs as I, and they are backstage. We've got Robin, the associate producer, if you will, or assistant producer of my show. She's backstage. 1-1, our NYPD, a law enforcement consultant or advisor. I wouldn't say advisor, consultant, but again, not representing NYPD, just happens to be a long-time NYPD guy, so he gets a great perspective sometimes on giving us those thoughts about how an arrest should look like, or all those different things. We talk a lot of issues like, hey, have you ever done that before? Has this ever happened? We get some cool stories, so it's a great perspective. We're going to have Joe from State of the Deep, I believe, joining us soon. I think Jason Estes from Estes Crime Maze is out sick again, so he's been under the weather for a while. Also, I think when he comes back, he'll be on a better internet connection. I hope, all things together. So we should not have that delay issue when he comes on. So in this short moment, I'm going to bring up our panelists. I'll introduce what we're going to talk about tonight. If you've never been here before, I'll introduce you a little bit to the Devil's Advocates platform and what it's all about. For those who are familiar with it, stand tight. We'll do some of the standard things. Let's bring our panel on and say hi to Robin. Caught you in the middle of doing something. Hope that wasn't a bad moment for you. But anyways, caught you in the middle of doing something.
Oh no.
At least it wasn't like
I was just
surfing naughty pictures on his glasses or something. But,
that's why I don't wear glasses, so you can't see what I'm doing.
I don't know. You can zoom in. You can zoom in on somebody's eyeballs pretty good. So you better be careful about that as well. Oh, it looks like we do have Joe from State of the Deep. Joe, am I able to put you on screen quickly, or do you need to have a little bit of time? Give me a thumbs up if I can put you on screen. And then he dove down and disappeared. Okay, we're good. We're good backstage. So I'm going to bring him on stage as well. So by the way, while we're bringing him up, Robin, do you have anything that you had happen today that's worthy of note, or anything exciting in your world?
Well, I don't know about exciting, but guess what? You've landed on the Devil's Advocates, the only true crime show bold enough to say, wait, does that make any sense? While the mainstream shrugs and moves on. With DA steering this beautiful chaos, we sift through the evidence, theories, and plot holes big enough to drive a getaway car through. Let's raise some eyebrows.
Holy crap. Wow. They had like a whole feel there. Fantastic. Yeah.
Wow.
I was trying to stand
almost
for
rose
Jason
to the level
a
of
little.
Jason
I'm trying,
Estes.
you know.
I mean,
nice.
Yeah, we're missing
Estes
Estes.
got the hype. Got the hype. Yeah. So one with the comments over your face. Let me remove that so we can see you a little bit better and let you say hi. What do you got going on today? Anything special?
Robin, I want you to say that 10 times fast.
Don't tempt me, I'll try.
Well, it's an extravagant night to be in the den on a Thursday night, and as always, live from New York, it's Thursday night.
You know, it's you guys are all using these big words like extravagant, and I feel like Jason when he comes on with his concavalcade or cacophony of whatever. Like, what the hell are you guys? I'm gonna have to whip out a dictionary just to keep up with my guests. The cavalcade, cacophony of sounds and whatever. But anyways, good to have you on the show. Glad things are going well with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks for making it in. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm good. What's up, everybody? What's up, Dennis?
You're rocking a little different hat than you normally have. Seemed like last time you had a dark hat. What do you got on your head?
Yeah,
there?
no, I rock a bunch of different hats. It's cold up here in the mountains.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Anything special going on in your world today?
No, man, we're supposed to get more snow up here this weekend. I mean, the talk is like as much as like 2 feet of snow possibly. So I'll believe it when I see it.
I have noticed something with all three of you consistently is there is a little delay from all of you. When you start talking, I see your mouth move and then it's a while before it comes in. So I don't know if that means it's on my side since it's consistently happening to all of you. So that's a very weird thing.
Let me try something, GA. Is that any better on my end? Is that better?
There's still a delay going on for me. And maybe that's here. The common denominator is me. So hopefully we're going to be all right. I didn't really say a lot of highs to people. So let me get some highs and hellos out of the way. If you're in the audience, maybe let us know if you're seeing a delay as well, or if you're seeing people's mouth move. No lag for Trans-Offy. So maybe we're not, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me.
You gotta upgrade your shit. You gotta upgrade your shit. Stop using 1990s shit.
I have over a gig speed. Like I'm smoking over here. Like I smoke people on internet speed, and I've got 2 ISPs coming into the house. So that are both like a gig service. So I don't think it's me, but it could be.
It's usually monitoring. If people aren't in the den or not hearing any delay, it's usually a monitoring setting on your end. At least I've had that happen a lot with recording and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't tweaked anything new, so we'll get back to that in a minute. So Amanda B, thanks for coming in and being first tonight. Penny, right behind Amanda B. Essie for coming into the house as well. Thanks. By the way, if you guys let me know where you're from, I love to hear where you guys are from. Even if you've told me before, it's always cool to kind of shout it out because I don't always remember where you're from. Liz Sutton, 2530, welcome into the show. Robin, of course, is on the screen. We talked about that. B. Randy J, welcome tonight. Got a lot of conversations, go back and forth, people saying hi to each other. Sinful Bitch 420, as usual. Troubled Ocean from the East Coast as well. Welcome in. Love to see all our regulars. Cami Burchette 9602. Welcome. That's a kind of a newer name for me, so it's good to see new names in here as well as old names. All of that's very, very cool. I know that eventually I'm going to lose track of everybody. Kimberly James, welcome to the house. That's a newer name. Christine Hurd, that sounds familiar. 4116. That name sounds familiar, but I don't know why it's sticking in my head all of a sudden. It's living in my head rent free at the moment. What else is going on? Bianca Jane, welcome. We got that one. I'm just trying to see if there's any names in here that I haven't seen, recognized. Looking for people telling me where they're from because I always love that stuff. Sharon B, 1022, welcome. That's a newer name that I don't recognize so much. So saying hi to some people. Jennifer Manicky to 6944, welcome. So lots of cool, different new names. Rhonda, the she devil in the room next door. She's literally in the house. Beauty for Ashes 262. Welcome. I think I recognize that name. Candy Chris as well. Sharon B. We already got. I just did it again. So hey, you can't be called out more too much. Like it's never a bad thing to call. Cat's Mojo. I don't think I said hi to Cat's Mojo for the night. So we're catching up. I'm almost caught up to and Siggy M6F, if I pronounced it right. Teresa 8793, welcome to the show. Thank you all for coming in. Love that we've got a little happy, warm family. Avery Snyder 7665 as well. I could be pinning these all to the screen. I'm not doing that. I'm not so good at reading and pinning and doing all that stuff together. Robin should try to keep up with me, right? Anyway, Christina,
no, what happens is when I try to do that, then we're fighting each other to put up comments.
I know, because I tend to click and then you click and then we're turning each other's stuff back on and off. Anyways, Lucy and Lucy Morningstar as well. So Amanda B, we already got her at the top. Sleuther 75, thanks for coming in. So, all righty, let's talk about the show, the format, and the big news. So I'm going to put on screen hopefully the right thing, because you know how I am with screwing up the audios, the videos every single night. So we try to do this show nightly at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. By the way, I don't have a bullet point on the thing, but I am turning these nightly recaps, a written recap, into Substack articles. So if you're not familiar with, I have a Substack page called devilsdocket.substack.com. I realize it's not on the screen. Maybe Robin could type it in. I think, Robin, by the way, we're supposed to be able to, when we type in links, that it should be a link that people can click on. So if you could take a moment and find devilsdocket.substack.com and post that link in. It should be a click. So anyways, what I'm doing is I'm taking the notes from our summaries of our nightly lives and turning them into Substack articles in case you missed it, or you're like, I don't have an hour and a half to 2 hours to watch DA's live with his panel, but I want to know what the highlights of the night were. So it's a great way to do it. You can read it very, very quickly and you can get the summary. And then if you decided that you missed something that you really wished you would have seen, like when we talk about stuff that we put on screen, like we're going to do tonight, you can be like, oh, I got to go watch that video because it's got something I want to see. So we're going to do call-in guests. You're welcome to come up. So again, if I'm going to try that link right now and see if it works. I'm just really curious whether the links really are clickable for people or not. So let me post this in.
Yeah, I think.
And
Robin's
I put it in already.
Yeah, it's clickable.
Oh, it works. It works.
What's funny is it's not clickable for me. So when I look at it, I was like, no, it's not a hyperlink, but it is showing up for other people.
It is.
It's working.
Yay! How cool is that? That's super cool. All right.
Nice.
I do want to welcome guests to come up. However, I want to tell you something really quick. more and more we've been seeing trolls. In fact, I got trolled by somebody who's saying, I don't know what a troll is. I don't see them. My husband saw a troll once, but it was under a bridge, and I think he was on LSD at the time. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so what's funny is I took a moment to explain to them what trolls were, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I just got trolled. Like, that's awesome. I just got trolled by having to explain what a troll is. So don't be a troll. The number one rule with trolls is don't feed the trolls. I probably got trolled by the person saying, I don't know what a troll is. Can you explain it to me? And so I explained it. They're like, you're such a dumbass. Everybody knows what a troll is. So anyways, here's the thing. I have been seeing an increased activity of, and I'll just call it for what it is. I really feel like it's other creators, super fans coming in and trying to shit on other channels as some kind of form of support for their favorite YouTuber, right? And that's happening more and more, where groups of people are going to other channels and then shitting on the channel and causing disruptions. So I want to first and foremost say, I never have a problem with you having a difference of opinion with me. And if you handle yourself properly and you're respectful, I will even give you the microphone and a camera and put you on here to tell the whole world how your idea is better than mine. And I will give you the space to do so. But don't be a jackass. And so I've asked my moderators, if it goes over the top, if you're treating people like shit, if you're calling people names, or if you're being disruptive in the group, you will get a timeout, usually first. That's going to be a temporary timeout. You can come back and try it again. If you still don't know how to behave after getting sent to the corner and like a child, then you'll get bounced from the entire meeting. And if you do it again, you'll get bounced from the channel. So don't be a toddler. Don't be a troll, and don't go to that point. Because again, I have no problems with you saying that I'm wrong. No problem with that, but do it respectfully. And that would be good. So just a warning about that, because we've seen an influx of that. And so I ask my moderators to be a little bit more judicious. No, I don't know if you're being not judicious, but just be on top of it and don't let riffraff disrupt the fun for everybody. We're going to talk tonight about a new public records campaign that I'm waging. I'm really stepping up the game, and I'm going to show you. I already showed you a little bit. I read one of the letters that I've written and sent to Moscow Police Department, as well as Idaho State Police Department, as well as the city attorney in Moscow. I read that letter, I think, last night. I've written another couple of letters. You're going to like these. I'm now pushing for Brent Copaka's information, and I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to talk about that entire campaign and offer you a way to help if you believe that putting pressure on the authorities to be transparent with things and finally come, after 3 years of hiding shit, to finally come out and admit some stuff. So we'll see if we can get some support behind that. We're going to talk about Luigi suppression hearings. Day 3 happened of Luigi Manjone's alleged shooting of Brian Thompson in New York. That is in day 3 of suppression hearings. So we got some interesting tidbits from that. I've also got a copy of the 911 call that came in from McDonald's that morning. And while the call itself isn't terribly interesting, it's also not terribly long. And there is something I want to point out. So we might do that. And if we have a lot of time at the end of this thing, we could play at least a portion of Shannon Gilbert's 911 call on the Lisk case, because I'm covering the Lisk case as well. But we'll see how it goes. I do have Charlie Kirk stuff to talk about. I have, we're going to spend a lot of time, again, we're going to spend a lot of time on Idaho 4 at the start of this show. And so again, the format for me is I cover 5 stories. I try to cover at least 3 every single night. There's going to be a premiere story that takes up the majority of our time, and then 2 supplemental stories that will spend about half the time each for the last part. And then we'll just kind of let it go at that, unless if something, of course, is popping off in all 5 stories, and then we'll just have to change the format a little bit. Did you raise your hand, Joe? No.
I was just fixing my mic.
Okay. I was like, wow, we're raising hands now. This is fantastic. I don't know if it's fantastic. You're open to interrupt me at pretty much any time. Just let me have the mic back when you interrupt me. That's all. All right. Just as a reminder, by the way, we do have still a sale on. I'm going to take this off pretty soon. The 30% off Black Friday sale on my merchandise. I did have somebody recently say, hey, by the way, I'm in UK and I can't buy your stuff. That's because when my wife and I set up the shop, and we're brand new at doing this, we ate our lunch when we had to ship to UK for the first time, because we only did a flat rate and we didn't know how to adjust, and we still don't know. But I went ahead and turned it on, and then immediately sold something to UK. So I'm going to eat my lunch again in the shipping. That's okay. That's on us. I'd rather move some merchandise than have it sit in a box anyways. So thank you so much for those who are buying the merchandise. Again, the quantities are up to date on the website. So if you're out of stock, you're out of stock. But if you find something in your size, it'd be a good time to do it. It's a really good discount on top of the fact that some people have even more expensive stuff than ours, and ours is like really high quality stuff, so it's good stuff. All right, there's the 5 cases I cover. Idaho 4, Charlie Kirk, Luigi Manjone, Long Island serial killer or Lisk, and Mickey Steins, the judge that shot the sheriff who shot the judge in the judge's chamber in Kentucky. We will be talking about that case when something happens more, but it's always kind of like in the back burner because it's so exciting to me. That case is crazy. In fact, I'm getting ready, by the way, to start doing more boots on the ground in local places. I might be going back to, I might be going to Kentucky. If I do something that I want to do, I might show up over there. So we'll see. I'm going to try to put my boots in the ground in lots of different places, but maybe not flying in December. I don't know if that's a great idea, but all right, let's talk about Idaho 4. We're going to talk for a while, unfortunately. And before I get into this, I need to let my panelists have a space. Otherwise, my panelists are just going to sit here, listen to me talk for like a half hour because I got to read some letters. Before we get into the Idaho 4 stuff, I will tell you this. We're going to talk about the letter campaign I'm going on, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about that letter campaign a little bit in general, or if you know about it, or if you want some brief overview. We're going to talk about a video snippet from Phoenix Talks showing the possibility that MPD hid or blurred out some details in some of their video footage where they might have been hiding a body possibly, or at least a blood pool, that they're basically misleading people about what had happened. And so we're going to look at that and get your opinion on whether or not that's what Phoenix is. Phoenix gives her argument of why it's being hidden. I want to talk about it. It shouldn't take that long. I think it's about a 6-minute clip in there, maybe a 5-minute clip in there where we can look at some stuff that she showed. You guys see, if you guys see the same stuff that I do, we'll talk about that as an open forum. We're going to talk about one more thing related to Idaho 4 on top of that, and I'm trying to remember what the hell it was. Maybe some show notes from Pavarotti and some other people, but let's talk about that letter campaign. Are you guys all familiar with the letter campaign, Joe, or have you been kept? I know that you're probably, out of the 3 of us, the least likely to be up on the letter campaign or the public records campaign.
Are you talking about just the letters that you were writing regarding the case?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
I know that you're undertaking that. I don't know any details beyond that.
Well, I'll say this. I want to caveat this by letting people know that I'm really not an asshole. I'm actually a nice guy. And have you ever heard that prosecutors and defense attorneys will go at it all day long in court, and then we'll go out and have a drink together at the end of the day or have lunch together because it's not personal. And in the courtroom, they may be tearing each other up, poking holes in each other's case and saying the other person's out of line and all these things like that. But they can still be friends and sit down and have a drink or a lunch. That's the way I feel with what I'm doing. I'm not going to get any Christmas cards from Pullman or Moscow, Idaho, Pullman, Washington, Moscow, Idaho, or Idaho State Police this year. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers. They're going to know my name. If they don't already know my name, they're going to know a lot about me very, very soon because they are getting certified letters in the mail requiring them to put their signature on it and tell me who picked up the letter. And it's, how do I word it? Again, I'm not being a dick. I'm just simply saying, in the interest of public, of the public's interest, we're asking for some transparency in this case, and we're asking for the following information to be made public. And if you don't, you're required to cite the rule under which you're hiding this information, and I'm putting pressure on them for those things. So when I show you this letter, please understand it's not meant to be a dick. And where I was going at that, but the whole having lunch, I swear, if Chief Dallinger from MPD wants to invite me for lunch, I'll go drive over there and have lunch with them, and I'll treat them very respectfully. This is not personal; it's just business. I have a job to do, which is to push for transparency and public disclosure, and they have a job to do, which is to try to protect their case. And so maybe, hopefully, I'm sure they won't feel the same way, but hopefully at the end of the day, they'll realize that I'm just doing my job and they can do their job and it's nothing personal. So let's talk about that a little bit. And if you like this idea, please let me know. This was the first letter that I wrote. I sent 3 copies of this letter. By the way, this is an expensive campaign. This is just the start. When you send a certified letter, there's a couple different ways for those who don't know in the United States to send a certified letter. Certified letter, they can just say, let me know that it's been picked up, or certified letter, let me know who picked it up and who signed for it. That latter part is what is recommended when you're filing legal briefings or you're putting legal pressure on somebody, is not just that they picked it up, but you want to know who specifically picked it up. So later when they say, we don't know what you're talking about, we never got that letter, be like, oh yeah, Well, Joe picked it up on Tuesday and he signed for it. So you have it. So that's the way you protect yourself. But that costs money. So 3 letters that I sent out the first day cost me $37. The 4 letters I sent out this morning cost me another 40 something dollars. So I'm at $100 out of my own pocket sending these letters. So I would love if you believe that this kind of pressure is going to net fruits, getting some donations. And I've set up a GoFundMe account for the Idaho transparency, basically funding to help pay for just the certified letter costs. I won't be taking any profit out of it. I won't be taking any personal money. It's 100% to cover the hundreds and hundreds of dollars of letters. And by the way, that's just the start of this process. If I have to file a criminal complaint with the district attorney in the state of Idaho, that criminal complaint could potentially lead to having to hire a lawyer. And that, of course, would cost us an enormous amount of money. So we'll see how far we can go. But if you guys put some teeth behind it, then that'll give us more room, more latitude to know how far we can go with this. Because I can't keep shelling out $1,000 a month or whatever to keep up the pressure. So this first letter was a letter to MPD asking for them to clarify when exactly they knew Brian Koberger's name, because Brian Koberger, according to the lead detective in the case, Brent Payne, in January of 2025, he said the first time that he had ever heard of Brian Koberger was December 19th when the feds told him the name Brian Koberger. However, documents that later came out by the Idaho State Police showed that Moscow Police Department had 2 officers sign a paper that went to Idaho State Police listing Brian Koberger as one of the suspects in the murder. That was on December 5th. That was weeks before Payne said that he knew the name Brian Koberger. Now, let's play legal games, guys. What they're going to probably claim is, look, Payne didn't say Moscow police didn't know about it. He just personally didn't hear the name Brian Koberger. How about we ask one who's in law enforcement? Is it possible for the lead detective on a case to not know what his officers are doing underneath him? And is there a scenario in your mind where Brent Payne literally just personally had never heard of Brian Koberger, but they had known in the department with the FBI co-located with them for weeks about Brian Koberger? How's that possible?
It's highly improbable, but it looks like Payne was the face of the investigation. The more and more stuff that comes out, and you look at the documents, it looks like Baker pretty much ran most of everything that went on. His name is on most stuff
on that paper. Yeah,
right. So it's highly, highly improbable. I'm sure he was well versed.
And so in my mind, here's what happens with that, right? I'm asking for an explanation. How is it that Brent Payne says, and I said in the wording, Brent Payne said he'd never heard of Brian Koberger until the December 19th, but by extension, since he's the lead, it looks like you guys knew about him on the 5th. Can you please explain? I suspect if they're playing legal beagle stuff like they're going to, they're going to say, look, Brent Payne was giving his personal understanding, and he may not have remembered it. It may have just been a lapse in memory. It's not perjury. It was just a lapse in memory. He did say, I don't remember ever hearing about it. That's the first time I heard about it. So if they can make a successful argument that the lead in the investigation could personally not have any clue who Brian Koberger is for weeks while his team's working on it and he doesn't know, I guess they can get away with that. I might cry bullshit and I might make an argument and plea like, I don't think that's realistic that your lead detective doesn't know the prime suspect in the case for weeks. But I don't know. Other than you saying he was the face, I can see no plausible explanation how the lead investigator doesn't know about the lead suspect. I mean, how are you not having daily briefings about the case and having your team members tell you what the status update is and say, by the way, we've got a lead, it might be Brian Koberger? Like, how did that not come up in a meeting?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway.
Well, those I was looking at Discord today and I saw Amanda had at least I saw stuff that she posted. There was emails and memos and stuff. And I just thought it was interesting how they were like, don't talk about this on the radio. Don't,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Again, one would know why that would be a situation. Don't arrest him. Just for, if you have a murder suspect driving around, and you're sure this car was involved in this case somehow. They said that. We know for sure that this car was at least somehow heavily involved with this, but don't arrest him if you see him. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I remembered it slightly differently. So I wish we had the receipts to show it. But I remember what it was first of all, if I remember right, I'm going to do it from my memory. They were even at that point, they were even looking at the wrong years of an Elantra. They were still looking at that narrowed 2013 to 2015 Elantra, right? And it was ended up being like a 2016 or 2017 Elantra, right? So they were even looking for the wrong years. But you're right, Joe. The wording said something. It was like basically to everybody, don't talk about it over the radio. If you see this, put it into a system, but don't talk about it. Don't go over the airwaves with it that you've got it. And you're like, well, what the fuck is that about? Like why? I mean, I don't remember them specifically saying, but maybe they did, Joe, but I don't remember them specifically saying, don't make an arrest. But I remember them saying, don't read the plates over, like it was like, don't make a public record of you looking into this person. Just kind of let us know on the down low that you found this car, but don't read it out loud. And that was weird.
They definitely said, don't stop him. Don't stop the vehicle.
Yeah.
Just report it. Report it to whomever, but don't talk about it over the radio. Like, if you have a quadruple homicide suspect that you're sure was somehow involved, and it explicitly says that, it says like they're definitely involved in this case. Why wouldn't you pull them over and question them and potentially arrest them if you're that sure that
right
vehicle was involved? I mean, it's
well, but again,
I
guess to that, I guess I've just thought it out of my head. You can't arrest them yet, right? They're just under suspicion, right? I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. You can't make an arrest, but I think Amanda, by the way, corrected me. It was a 2011 to 13 Hyundai Elantra they were looking for at the time, which again wasn't the year of Koberger's car at the time. But I mean, is the not pulling him over, not arresting him thing, is it just because they don't have anything other than a suspicion, or what's going on?
Could be. Yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, we get stuff all the time. I think I mentioned it the other night. We were talking, like here in NYPD, we get stuff that's called it's like a suspect. So we have what's put out. Usually the detectives will put out. So we have like some kind of robbery, homicide, or whatever. There's a person of interest. It's called an iCard. So they'll put out, and we'll get like an internal email. Obviously, it's not open to the public. We'll get an email. We'll get a notification like such and such person is wanted on a suspect iCard. So what could have happened is that they put out that this is a person of interest, but they don't have probable cause to arrest at that time. So you really don't have. So they don't. You really don't like you said. He probably at that point when that was put, he probably was just a person of interest. They didn't have their whole story yet together with they didn't have a probable cause yet to go after him. So they just wanted people aware, like, because you also don't want to spook them either, like if they jump the gun on it. So
I have a follow-on question about it, but let me get Robin's thought. Did you want to weigh in at all, Robin, on the whole don't pull them over, don't arrest them in the early part, or did you? Because I've got another follow-on question if you don't have a thought. But
no, go right ahead.
So the other, to Joe's point, not only was it like the don't pull them over, don't arrest them, but you have to ask the other question, which is, I don't want to beat it to death. I don't want to rehash the entire case, but why late in this game, on the 15th of December or 16th of December, you allow somebody who's your primary suspect to leave the state, like to go clear across the country? Like it makes, I get, maybe it's because you don't have enough to make an arrest, but like if he's your prime suspect in a murder, you're just going to let that guy leave the state?
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty much what you said. I don't think they had enough to to really get him. I mean, you look at the probable cause affidavit. I mean, look at all the nonsense that's in there. You know, they were piecing together, you know, what could they do to get a warrant to get this guy, and it's a bunch of nonsense. So they probably didn't have the full story yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, in the beginning, right? The community concern was obviously very high, by looking at the press conferences and things like that. If you would think that if you had a vehicle that you were confident was involved somehow in a quadruple homicide, why wouldn't you question the person? Because you're not saying that they're the one you're going to arrest and they did the crime, but wouldn't you want to question them about what information they may or may not know about what happened, rather than let them just continue out and about in the community? Number one. Number two, if you think a little bit further a little more conspiratorially, could it be, if, let's say, hypothetically, Koberger was working with the feds, they didn't want the grassroots rubber on the road people to have too much contact with him, because if he was working with or for the feds, only higher up people would know about that, and they wouldn't necessarily want other people on the ground to be interacting with him too much, because he may have been involved in an operation, in which case it's very compartmentalized. You know, with federal operations, it's read many things about it where you'll have federal agents embedded working in an area where there's law enforcement, and most of the people in the law enforcement don't know about it. Only like people very high up the ladder know about that.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in on something that you said. So you said, why didn't they stop him and question him, right? And did you mean question him on scene, or bring him in for an interview, or?
Yeah, I mean, like if
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Once they do that, now they're gonna have to read him his Miranda rights, because you can't question him about possible homicide that he did, and then you start questioning him. They have to make it clear. Oh, we're going to bring you down. It would have to be very, very clear that he doesn't have to go with them. He's not he doesn't have to go to the station. He's not forced. If there's any inkling at all that he's not free to leave, they can't question him. They cannot question him on anything with the crime without reading him his Miranda rights. And if they're going to read him his Miranda rights, then he's under arrest.
Right. Well, my point was, just like they questioned Dylan and Bethany.
Yeah, but they
didn't read them their Miranda rights.
They weren't just suspects.
But
wait, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
If they're just questioning them as somebody who may know information about the case, right? At that point, they didn't know. He wasn't officially a suspect, supposedly, right? If they were just like, this vehicle, we believe is somehow connected to this, couldn't they have questioned them as far as like, what do you know about this crime that happened? Just like they questioned the surviving roommates.
But it's not the same. It's not the same thing, though. It's not the same thing, because Dylan and Bethany are at the scene. They're on the scene, and they're roommates. They're there. Koberger he's not connected to them.
I will say this. Let me say this, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong. And by the way, Robin, if you could pay attention to the chat and pin something if there's something we need to address, because I don't want to just completely ignore the chat while we're on this long philosophical discussion. But I want to say, how many times have we seen, if you watch a lot of TV and true crime, a person's murdered, and the spouse is always the first person you look at, and they'll start questioning the husband right away. you're not, but they'll say, you're not a suspect. We just want to ask you some questions. You know, you know where your wife was? That's an investigation in part, but they tell them you're not a suspect in this investigation. So why couldn't they have done that to Koberger
They
as
could
well?
have.
Like, hey, look, you're not a
They could
suspect in
have.
this. We just
They
want to
could have.
know.
Like I said,
Yeah.
they would have had to made it. They would have had to make it clear. But if you're saying like, oh well, they're pretty sure this car was there and that's his car. At that moment, they probably didn't have enough to stop him yet. Like, could they just, well, we don't want him leaving the state, so we're gonna bring him in for questioning. Well, now you have, like I said, you have custody plus interrogation. You have to play. He's going to be placed that you need to read him his Miranda rights. Sure, you could stop him and say like, you can kind of ask him, what is he doing in the area? You could ask him kind of like roundabout stuff. You could ask him if he's willing, oh, we had some, oh, you go to school here or whatever. We have some questions, but he could say, no, go fly a kite. I don't want to go to the, I'm going home to my house. I don't want to go.
Yeah. I want to put Kimberly's point back up because this is a good point. A person who's merely a suspect with no formal charges or court orders is legally free to travel. Plus, the suspect might not know he's a suspect, so they don't want to tip him up. So, I mean, part of the question is the reason why they have to let him leave, right? And
they didn't have enough.
To say you're a suspect and you need to stay put, or you're not a suspect and you can go where the hell you want because you're not a suspect. But I will say this, and I feel embarrassed to admit this, but if I recall, Othram Labs, first of all, if I recall, Idaho State Police was already working on the DNA evidence at the time that before Koberger left, before he left Washington State. They were already working on that. They couldn't come up with the hit. They couldn't come up with anybody in CODIS. FBI took over it. They still hadn't developed it to Koberger at that point. And it wasn't until all the way when he's over in Pennsylvania, in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, when they did the famous trash gate and pulled his trash and then found that it wasn't Koberger's DNA, but it was a 99.99 ridiculous % chance of being the biological father of whoever left the DNA in the house. That's when they made the arrest, right? So it's because and so what I want to caveat is to say this: with all those being said, to me, what it means is that was their deal sealer, the DNA.
Yeah. It was.
They knew they had a circumstantial case and they couldn't make an arrest based on the circumstantial evidence. They needed the DNA to make the arrest. And then ironically enough, then told you after they made the arrest, said, well, we don't even plan on using the DNA. We've got enough with the circumstantial arrest. It's just like it to me, it's like, are we missing the problem? They literally let him leave and didn't question him because there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough to make it. It wasn't enough to even make him a suspect. So then after they get the DNA, then they have an arrest, which means that they didn't have enough without the DNA. So how can they even say, well, we don't plan on using the DNA?
They didn't. They definitely,
it makes no sense.
Definitely did. They definitely didn't. If they had enough, they would not have let him drive across 4 states or whatever, however many states. They would have stopped him immediately.
So why do you guys think? It seemed to me that when he got pulled over twice, that was planned. That wasn't just coincidental that, 2 cops within a very short time pull him over for following too closely to the vehicle in front of him and neither one gives him a ticket. Do you think that they were just scoping him out, see if he had any injuries?
Yeah.
To get just to kind of keep eyes on him? Because it seemed pretty obvious that was planned.
Yeah.
They were just kind of scoping him out, and getting eyes on him up close. Because I just thought it was interesting, that they pulled him over twice and he didn't get a ticket either time.
It's funny, because we're way behind. We're way behind on time because I didn't want to spend this long, and I still want to read the letter and I still want to talk about the GoFundMe. But here's the thing: in Howard Bloom's "When the Night Comes Falling," he indicated the feds were following Koberger in his car, even by aerial surveillance, and saw Indiana troopers pulling him over and thought, oh shit, somebody tipped them off. They know that Koberger's involved and they pulled him over. And then they realized that they didn't have a clue and let him go. So they, Howard Bloom tries to paint it off as it was just random traffic stops. That he literally got pulled over one person for following too close. The next guy pulls him over and he's like, hey, I just got stopped for this. And he's like, okay, well, go on your way then. And maybe it was just coincidental. And the feds were like, whew, like Indiana didn't have a scoop and was trying to make an arrest kind of thing. So I don't know, but for what it's worth. I want to talk about this letter. I don't know I hope I can read a 2-page letter to you and maybe another one without you being a snooze fest. But I think the details are important. And in order to do this, I want to caveat real quickly why Brent Copaka has always been on my list. Brent Copaka, I have reason to believe. And by the way, my gosh, I'm trying to teach myself so much about the law right now. I don't know. Listen to this. I don't know if a citizen can create an affidavit. I know how an attorney creates an affidavit because I've seen John Ray, who's been on our show, do an affidavit. What it is somebody says, I know something or saw something. And he's like, look, I just want to make a public record. So I'm going to write out what you just told me, and I'm going to have you sign it in front of me with your name on it in front of a public notary who says that you're testifying that you said these words and you signed it saying, yes, this is an accurate portrayal. And that just becomes an affidavit. It becomes a record of sort. Go ahead, Robin.
Yes, a citizen can create their own affidavit as long as it's true and you draft it yourself. Then it becomes legally binding once it's properly notarized by an official like a notary public.
So, and it's funny because that's what I suspected, that I myself could, and where I'm going with that is this. I had a person say on my comments, I've been trying to connect Brent Copaka and Brian Koberger as people who knew each other from Pennsylvania. People come on here and bust my nuts and says, Brent Copaka never lived in Pennsylvania, even though I can show you his mother certainly owned a house in Pennsylvania at a time that Brent Copaka would have just got out of the military. Would he have gone home to his mom's place? Did he spend any time in Pennsylvania? People get so mad at me when I bring up Brent Copaka. And then Brent Copaka, if he was in Pennsylvania, ended up living, as Joe and I learned, right across the street from each other in Pullman, Washington, literally like a stone's throw away from each other. And that is not a coincidence if those two guys are in Pennsylvania. But I've never been able to prove definitively Brent Copaka was in Pennsylvania. I also told you that because Copaka's family, his mother at least, was in Pennsylvania, that when Othram Labs told you, we developed the DNA sample to 4 brothers from Pennsylvania, that it wasn't the Kobergers. None of those names had Koberger's name on it. They've never said who it was. I've suspected it was Brent Copaka and his 3 brothers. That's the 4 brothers from Pennsylvania. But again, people bust my nuts and says, devil's advocates. Brent Copaka isn't from the East Coast. He's never been there. By the way, his best friend made a comment. He hated everybody on the West Coast, which indicates Brent Copaka is an East Coast guy. There's all kinds of circumstantial reasons to believe that Brent Copaka came from the East Coast. Even comments by his friends. And then somebody came on a freaking comment of mine, and I about pissed myself. And I'm like, I'm going to get an affidavit if I can. They said, devil's advocates, I can prove to you, my husband and I lived next door to Brent Copaka in Pennsylvania. His address was on this street, and he was within an hour of the family house of the Kobergers. And I'm like, I'm going to piss myself right now. Like, I want that on record. I want an affidavit. I mean, just put it on a piece of paper and sign it that you agree, that you are stating you lived next door to Brent. He even said I think they said they knew him. They knew him personally. Brent Copaka lived next door to him and knew him. So if I could get that person, I begged him already, but how far can I go? I don't have any contact. But if I can get somebody like that to put an affidavit together, that's a record. Nothing would happen to that unless I'm right about Copaka, and later on, I need to prove receipts that, hey, look, we know he was there because I got somebody who said there was his next door neighbor. So we'll see.
Hey, right. Yeah, can I bring up that interesting little search thing I did with Brent Copaka and SEO?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. Because when we went to Idaho, DA and I, right near where Copaka and Koberger, well, definitely where Koberger lived and where we believe Copaka lived, in the Pimlico apartments, right behind Pimlico on a hill is this big compound. You guys know, Rob, most of the people know that we're on the live streams, and it's Schweitzer Engineering Labs. And just for shits and giggles, I was searching on Grok AI, and I get it. It's just a search thing, but did a Brent Copaka work for Schweitzer Engineering Labs? And it came back, yes, Brent Copaka worked for Schweitzer, and they gave his whole resume. He was a
Right.
scientist
I was stunned.
and all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Awesome.
But, and I have it. I sent a picture of it to DA of that search, and it gave the guy's whole resume. He's from Pullman, Washington, and this, that, and the other. Now, it doesn't sound like it's the same Brent Copaka, but what are the chances that a guy who literally worked in the compound right behind where Brent Copaka, the other Brent Copaka, potentially lived, has the same name? And then I searched again, and I just changed the wording a little bit, and it was like, no Brent Copaka works. But I think what they're saying is he doesn't work there anymore. But there was a Brent Copaka, because they gave him a pretty extensive bio of like what he does and his career and what other companies he worked for. And so is it possible that he was related to that Brent Copaka, and that's why he ended up in Pullman to begin with? Because he had a family connection there, maybe possibly even some kind of job prospects.
I gotta tell you, Joe, you want to hear something really weird? Nobody knows this. Nobody knows this. First time I'm going to tell you this. So when I was drafting the letters to inquire about Brent Copaka, and I was doing a little research to try to make sure I got all the pertinent details about Brent Lee Copaka, it said, like an AI said, Brent Copaka's birth date was 1974. His birth date is actually 1986. So now the question is there another Brent Copaka in Pullman who's a little older? Because that came up. Oh, Brent Copaka from Pullman, born 1974. And I'm like, well, no, he's not born 74. He's 86. Now I'm beginning to wonder, is there another Brent Lee Copaka or another Brent Copaka in Pullman, Washington? That's fucking, that in itself is weird as shit.
I think it's, I mean, it's very possible that it was an uncle or a cousin or something, because the Brent Copaka, and I texted that little thing to you, DA. You have it in our text thread. You know, it appeared like they were a little bit older than the other Brent Copaka, because of
which is the same kind of thing that I'm kind of
college, and they also, I believe it says they teach at WSU. Or they taught at WSU.
Wow.
So if it's in the thing that I sent you, DA. So if that, now this may not seem like a big deal, but remember we were all talking on the live stream when DA and I were there. Like, is there some connection with this SEL? Why was Brent Copaka even living there? Well, if he lived in Pimlico, it's literally fucking next door,
right next door to SEL.
Yeah.
It's the next building behind that up on a hill is SEL. So if that guy was related to Copaka, an uncle or a cousin, that could have been the reason Copaka ended up there. And if you probably dig a little deeper, you could probably find out what kind of projects that guy was, the other Brent Copaka, the older Brent Copaka, was working on. Because if he was working on government contracts, then that could shed some light on what type of stuff did Brent Lee Copaka get involved with. Was he working as a contractor? Was he doing jobs for SEL or something like that? It just opens things up.
That can't be
I'm confused about Fox. I'm right. I'm confused about Foxy Rose's comment, because that date looks familiar. What I came up with Brent Copaka's ad. I think it looks familiar. 11/21/74 as Brent Copaka's birthday. Now this says this is Brian's birthday. Again, it can't be Brian Koberger's birthday, because again, Brian Koberger is younger than that. So it makes, what the heck's going on here? Like I guess at the moment we're not going to solve that shit. Let's put that away. But what we've got literally right in the middle of a live is there more than one Brent Copaka in Pullman, Washington? Does one of them work at SEL as an engineer, and is it related to Brent Copaka, who was shot and killed later on? That's crazy shit. I can't imagine that scenario. I know that his father's name was not Brent Copaka. I remember, I think it's John Copaka. His mother is Darcy Nixon or Darcy Copaka. So I'm not sure where the Brent Copaka comes in for an older, but like you said, is it an uncle, something like that?
And if people search the WSU connection, that would be really interesting, because if that other Brent Copaka was a professor at WSU, that could tie. That's one more link in the chain between Brian Koberger and the younger Brent Copaka. Because if this other
Yeah.
guy who may have been his uncle or cousin or whatever was a professor at WSU, that's another link in the chain.
Who needs all my public records? I feel like we're having a Bill O'Reilly moment. Fuck it, we'll just do it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
We'll just break this case live. All right. I want to read 3 letters, if you guys will permit me, because I think it'll give some of the audience a raging Woody, because these are some pretty good letters. First letter I'm going to read to you is a letter to the records custodian at Moscow Police Department about records involving Brent Lee Copaka. You should know some of the reasons why I think that. And again, he was shot and killed 1 month and a couple days after the murders in Pullman or in Moscow, Idaho. Many people have speculated that he may have been the kind of person who would have the skills to do so, may have been involved, and maybe, in my kind of speculation, the person who was part of the 4 brothers that were found from Pennsylvania in the Othram lab search also may have been the other suspect that's still redacted to this day. There were 2 suspects listed on December 5th, Brian Koberger and one other person. I have a reason to believe that second person is Brent Copaka. I've felt that from a long time, and I think they're hiding that name. I think they were watching Brent Copaka. I think when Brent Copaka got killed, they went, oh, fuck, the only guy that we have left in this is Brian Koberger, because he was with him or something like that, and they went after the only guy left in the case because Brent Copaka was dead. That's kind of my speculation. So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions on 3 letters leading to Brent Copaka. I hope you will enjoy these, and it isn't a snooze fest. Let's read letter 1. And I'm going to have to put my glasses on because, you know, it's a little, I'm a little old, right? So records custodian, this is from me to the public records, all records referencing Brent Lee Copaka. To the records custodian, pursuant to the Idaho Records Act, Idaho, blah, 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 blah. I cited a law. I respectfully request all records from January 1st, 2019 to present in the possession of Moscow Police Department that involve, reference, or contain the name Brent Lee Copaka. Believed date of birth to be 10/4/1986. If known, please search all variations of the spelling. Because sometimes I'll pull we don't have a Brent Lee Copaka, we just have Brent Copaka, or some misspelling. So you have to specify any spelling that's close to this. Records requested. Please provide all of the following: all incident reports, field interviews, officer notes, police contacts involving Brent Lee Copaka. 2, all dispatch logs, CAD records, 911 calls, welfare checks, all service calls involving or referencing him. 3, all emails, memos, internal communication, bolos, bulletins, investigative notes, or tip sheets and referencing a Brent Copaka, Brent Lee Copaka, Copaka, or alternate spelling. Any and all correspondence or records discussing his possible involvement or connection or mention in relation to the November 13, 2022 Idaho homicides at 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. 4, any interagency correspondence between Moscow Police Department and Pullman PD, Washington State PD, Idaho State PD, FBI, Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, Latah County Sheriff's Office that mentions Copaka. 5, any investigative follow-up regarding public tips about Brent Copaka. 6, any communications referencing his death during a Pullman SWAT incident on December 2022. And 7, any communication discussing Judge, who in the case of Brian Koberger started to say the name Copaka in court by accident on February 28, 2024 in case number CR, blah, 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 and any discussion in email or other correspondence about that name being said in court. Because Judge said, Koberger. He started to say Copaka and then he said Koberger. So many people have said, how the fuck did he just slip on that? Where did he get the name Copaka? Is it because Copaka's name is listed as the other suspect in this murder case? And have they hid this from us from the very beginning? So I'm asking, if you guys talked at all in email and any kind of correspondence about why Judge almost said Copaka's name, I want to know about that as well. And then we finish any portion of this request. If any portion of this request is denied, please cite the specific statutory exemption, and I'm willing to pay reasonable copy fees. No, I'm not willing to pay $20,000. I'm not willing to pay $20,000. I want to be nice. I want to be nice until it's time not to be nice. That's an old reference from an old movie as well. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. So I'll be nice. I'm not willing to pay $20,000 for this information, nor should I have to. And that's by law as well. They can't charge those kind of dollar amounts. So that's letter number 1. I hope that you feel like I do, that it starts the ball rolling. Yes, no, I don't believe they're going to give me any of that shit. Yes, I believe they're going to stonewall me and they're going to lie and they're going to tell me they don't have those records. They do. He's had multiple run-ins with law enforcement, at least in Washington State. By the way, as a good little caveat that you might want to know, When you ask ChatGPT about records requests in Washington versus Idaho, Idaho is known for giving the middle finger to everybody and trying to stonewall you. Washington State is much more giving with records. We might have a lot better luck going after Washington Pullman PD. So Pullman Washington PD, we might have a lot better luck with that. With Whatman County in Washington, we might have a lot better luck because Washington is way more forthcoming, and Idaho tends to give the middle finger to anybody and tries to make you take them to court to get them to cough up anything. Maybe that's why the murder happened in Idaho in the first place. But anyways, second letter I hope that you'll find enjoyable is to Moscow Police Chief Anthony Dallinger. I think Dallinger, by the way, as an aside, I got to share this moment. I had forgotten what Dallinger looked like, Chief Anthony Dallinger. I forgot what he looked like. I was at the press conference that was held after Brian Koberger was sentenced, and they did the witness or the victim impact statements, and everybody cried, and Dylan cried, and I can't even look at you, you ruined my life. And then we all went and we had a big, huge press conference, and I was in the press conference, and I was in the back raising my hand. I was terrified. I was shaking like a leaf because I'm like, fuck, if they call on me, do I have the nerve to do this? I'm going to be on national TV asking this question, which was, after 3 years, are you going to tell us a fucking thing that we haven't already known for 3 years? I was going to leave the F word out, but I was going to ask that. I was going to be like, I'm just sorry. Like, I've been listening to your entire press conference. Now you open it for questions, and you've told us nothing that we haven't already known for 3 years. Are you going to ever tell us something that we haven't already heard? So I was ready to do that. I realize now, going and looking at Chief Dallinger's picture, he looked me in the eye 3 times at least. He saw me with my hand raised. Dallinger looked me in the face. Anthony Dallinger, if you don't know me by now, you do now. Anthony Dallinger looked me in the eyes, and he kept going past me and wouldn't let me ask a question. Maybe because he only wants to take questions that are softballing him questions, or maybe it was just a coincidence. I mean, to be fair, maybe he just he takes questions from people he's more familiar with. Whatever the case be, it was kind of funny because it was like, oh, that's Dallinger, the guy that kept looking at me and wouldn't take my question. All right, let's finish off these couple of letters. You guys with me still?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Chief Dallinger. Let me get these glasses for the old man back on. I am writing to request an official clarification regarding whether the name Brent Lee Copaka, assumed date of birth 10/4/1986, was ever considered, evaluated, or dismissed as a potential lead or person of interest by your agency during the investigation into November 13th, 2022 homicides in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I want you to understand why I think that's important. I don't think anybody's formally asked them to admit whether they ever thought Brent Copaka was involved. So I'm specifically saying, have you ever considered Brent Copaka as a possible suspect in this case? I don't know that mainstream media has ever asked them that question. So I'm going to represent mainstream media, and I'm going to ask them a question. Has anybody ever told you Brent Copaka may be involved, and did you ever look at him? And if you dismissed him, in what way did you dismiss Brent Lee Copaka? Given that, and I'm going to give some reasons why they should have looked into Brent Copaka. Given that Mr. Copaka lived minutes from 1122 King Road residence, Mr. Copaka once gave law enforcement an address of the Pimlico Apartments as his residence, which is across the street from Steptoe Apartments, where the lead suspect, Brian Koberger, lived at the time of the murders in Pullman, Washington. Mr. Copaka was killed at the Coffee House Apartments in Pullman, Washington, on the opposite side of town from where he listed as his residence. He was killed by Pullman SWAT on December 15th, 2022. Multiple sources and public tips named him as a possible suspect or person of interest. Investigative inconsistencies have been publicly acknowledged. I respectfully request that your agency confirm, 1, whether your agency received any tips, leads, or communications naming or referencing Brent Lee Copaka or any variation of the name thereof. 2, whether his name was ever entered into your suspect lead or investigative tracking systems. 3, whether any internal discussion occurred regarding potential involvement or exclusion. 4, whether your agency exchanged information with Pullman PD, Washington PD, the FBI, or Idaho State PD regarding Brent Copaka. 5, whether any formal determination or review was completed regarding his potential relevance to the investigation. This request is not an accusation. It's an attempt to understand and clarify inconsistencies in publicly available records. I request written response within 30 days. So I can request whatever I want. Doesn't mean that they're going to listen to it, but that's what I've requested. We'll see what happens. They are supposed to respond within a reasonable time. I believe this is the last letter. And again, I don't know if you noticed, but several of these slides have also Whitman County or also whatever. I'm sending a copy of that same letter to other agencies as well. This is why I stacked up so much money and costs. Last letter that you might find interesting. This is in relation to the shooting. This is to Pullman Police Department. And again, I've heard Washington State is much more giving on public records. They give you a lot more shit than Idaho is going to give you. So we might get the answers from Washington, not from Idaho. Public records request complete investigative file for the December 15th, 2022 shooting of Brent Lee Copaka. To the Public Records Office, this is a request under Washington Public Records RCW 42.56. I request the complete investigative file relating to the Pullman SWAT officer involved shooting of Brent Lee Copaka on December 15, 2022, including 1, incident reports, narratives, and investigative memos. 2, SWAT activation logs, planning documents, or after-action reports. 3, crime scene photos, diagrams, and mapping files. 4, body cam, dash cam, drone footage, or audio recordings. 5, dispatch logs, 911 calls, and radio traffic. 6, autopsy report, toxicology report, medical examiner findings. 7, any communications between Pullman PD and Whatman County prosecutor. 8, emails, memos, or interagency communications regarding the shooting. 9, any documents referencing Copaka's mental state, threat level, or risk assessment leading up to the incident. 10, any investigative findings, conclusions, or clearance letters related to the shooting. If any of the materials are withheld, please provide the exemption log with the specific RCW citation. Electronic copies are preferred. So there you go. That's the pressure that I'm trying to put on. If you support that and you believe in that and you think it could potentially net any fruits, please go to the GoFundMe page, Support Transparency in Moscow, Idaho case. There's a QR code you can scan if you have your phone with you. Robin, I don't know if we can paste a link to the thing. If you can pull that, great. If you did, I didn't give you a lot of heads up on. Perfect. So please consider supporting it, because this is going to cost me probably thousands of dollars just requesting all of the documents that I want. And it's going to be a process. They're going to come back and they're going to say no to a lot. We might have to send a follow-on letter that asking for things one at a time instead of this big blanket thing. That's going to cost, think about that. I probably had 100 things I'm asking for, but I did it in one letter. They might come back and say, sorry, file out one thing for the 911 call, find out another thing. Like, that's going to cost us a fortune. So please, consider supporting this if you believe in the cause and you want to put pressure, because even if Brent Lee Copaka is not involved in this at all, this is going to shake leads. It's going to make them, it's going to push them for transparency. And if not, then we're going to press all the way up further to say, why are you hiding everything in this case? There's a public interest to know. And there's concern in the public that you might've got the wrong guy. So be transparent and let us know you got the right guy. So anyways, what do you guys think about that before we move on to any kind of discussion about other YouTubers talking about Idaho 4?
I think it's a good, I think it's a good approach, but unfortunately you're always up against it, because if the feds are involved, they can, anything that's related to national security, or they deem it related to national security, they can stonewall people till the end of time. And I do believe that somehow Copaka was connected to this case. And it's unfortunate that our media, so-called media, has no interest in investigative journalism anymore, right? So these institutions that have these legacy institutions that have huge deep pockets and endless financing clearly don't do investigative research. It has to go to independent journalists. And the interesting thing about that is, because that has grown so much online with independent journalism, the powers that be now are flooding the zone with people in the social media space and online spaces to give them credibility as the new sort of establishment. Like, you have people like Sean Ryan, whose podcast is blowing up, former Navy SEAL, CIA contractor. Many people believe he's still working for the feds. Point being that they're still trying to control the narrative, because the powers that be have seen how the legacy media is crashing out. So now that people like us and people like, Candace and Ian Carroll and the many others who do investigative research are gaining so much popularity, they're flooding the zone with their people now, including, I don't know, DA, if you saw this, but the Pentagon is now using social media influencers in their press corps to feed them softball questions. So it's gotten to that point.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, like my hope is that even if they want to pull the national security card, that would tell you something, right? And they should have to put it like, sorry, we can't disclose or we won't disclose this due to national security. If they even put that in writing, that tells you something. It should tell you it's not a random incel from Pullman, Washington, who's decided that he couldn't get laid and had to kill people. That's not a national security incident. So if there's a national security flag put on this to hide the information, it tells you, in my opinion, it already tells you that it's not what they said it was, because there's no scenario that random incel is a national security issue, in my opinion. But
agreed.
So normally what I like to do, here's the thing, I'm way behind today because I talked so much and I read letters and all that. Normally I like to try to wrap up about this time and move on to another case, but we've got a potential 6-minute clip to play of Phoenix here. Let me look at the preview of the next slide to see if there was another thing I was going to talk about queued up. Nope, this was the last thing. So it's not terribly long, but the conversation that's going to come from it is terribly long. I do want to get a straw poll from those who are here, if we can do that. Type a 1 in the chat if you want to see this video. 2 if you've already seen it and it's old news to you already, because I mean the internet moves fast. This hasn't been out terribly long. Phoenix was talking about her reasoning for why a walkthrough of the house in which an officer is going to be seen filming with his camera. So you're going to see a camera filming a camera. You're going to see what looks like blurred out areas of the image where they're trying to hide what was in the house from her analysis. So if I remember my own question, 1 means you want to see it, 2 means it's old news, right? So we've got a bunch of 1s so far. Just make sure that we got people that haven't seen it and want to see it. Again, a shout out to Phoenix Talks on this. I'm hoping to talk to Phoenix pretty soon. We've been bouncing around appreciating each other's work without talking to each other one-on-one. So I'm hoping that we can get some one-on-one conversation. I've got some questions for her. Maybe she has some questions for me, but right now we just kind of acknowledge each other in each other's channels, but don't have a lot of interaction with each other. So we'll see if that changes. But all right, let me take this off screen and queue up the actual video for us. So I'm gonna stop the screen sharing. I'm gonna go share this and yeah, the delay must be on my side, because when I hit to share my screen, I'm getting a big delay. Like so much of a delay, it's not popping up on screen. What the fuck? That's the first time. There it is. My gosh, that was forever. All right. I think it's this Chrome tab. Stand by. You guys can talk and fill in the space if you want. Yeah, I'm having some really serious audio things. Thank you. Thank you. That peanut gallery. Yeah, my computer.
Well, I had a question for one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did anybody ever confirm? Remember that a woman put up that picture of, apparently it was supposed to be Xana's room with the blood and stuff? Do we know if that was? Did anybody confirm?
It was. Yeah, it's in the record.
So that was legit.
It is. Yeah, I believe Amanda found it. It was.
See,
it was part of.
It just seems to me that the blood that was, remember, there was blood dripping on the foundation outside of the house, initially. It's like that, what we saw in that room obviously was evidence of a violent crime.
Right.
But based on what we were told had happened with the many stab wounds, do you think that that would have been representative of two people being stabbed that many times in that room, that amount of blood that we saw in that picture?
I would need to see more just from that picture alone. No,
I'm just curious because you would know about that kind of stuff. I wouldn't know. I could only
just from that
speculate.
Yeah, just from that picture alone. I mean, it does show some evidence of pooling blood. I would need to see a lot more of the room to actually make a judgment on that.
Right, because it just seemed like what we saw, it didn't seem like it was indicative of what we were told.
It did, right. Did not.
I'm going to make an attempt at playing this video. If for any reason we're having problems, I'm going to let you guys talk and I'm going to reboot my system. You guys should be able to keep the live going and I should be able to rejoin. I think we've done that once before where I had to reboot and I came back into my own live. So we'll make an attempt to do it live. And then if it doesn't work, and again, this is a little lengthy. I will not try to play too much, but let me just make sure that one of you say out loud whether you hear. I'm a little bit ahead of where we need to pay attention. So let me know verbally if you guys hear the sound on this.
It is wild.
We're
Yes.
here.
Okay.
Cast off. Correct. I believe. Yep. And remember, there was some betting in the documents that were brand new, that were replaced maybe or used or something in that process. He comes back out. He starts going upstairs. Now here is where you see it. Here is
What she's going to want you
they
to just so you can know ahead of time what you're watching for. So the officer looks like he's got a body-worn camera on that's filming, and you can see his hands in front of his body-worn camera, and he's holding a phone taking pictures of things. What she wants you to focus on in this video is the camera in his hand, which is showing something slightly different than what you see from his body-worn camera. That's the interesting thing. It's the
Yes.
They hate us YouTubers. They hate us YouTubers because we look for shit like that. Like, wait a minute, what you're showing in your camera is not the same thing you're showing on your body camera. So watch for that.
You can see some of the things he's going to share. Some. There was no blood found in the bathroom, correct? Somebody may have taken a shower. Super clean bathroom. Now, you are going to see things in his camera that they blur out in the video, but it shows up on his camera. There are things on this table that they have blurred out that he is going to take.
And I want to stop because I didn't catch it the first time I watched it. Like, for example, she's going to show you a little bit later a empty bottle, like a beer bottle, on the table. That in that shot you just saw, you don't see that beer bottle on the table, but you're going to see it in a minute. All of a sudden, magically appear on the table that wasn't there. So it's not necessarily easy to catch all the things that she's pointing out. So.
A picture of. There are things that they have blurred out on the wall that he is now taking a picture of. Okay, there's going to be a little spot of things that you can see on the table. I'm trying to do it as easy as I can. Okay, there are things on this table they have blurred out in some of the pictures and right here. And you're going to start seeing that maybe there is a body or there is blood pools in the table behind this, on the floor behind this table. You're going to start seeing it. All right. They have blurred a lot of it out, and you'll see where the actual floor doesn't match what they've blurred out. Okay. There is something back here on the floor underneath this table, all around the backside, right in front of Dylan's door. Okay. You're going to start seeing little snippets, little pieces, and you can go back and look. Do you see all this red stuff here? You don't see the red stuff later. Now, there is a bag down there where the officer dropped the AED unit. He dropped it right there. But see how all this right by his glove on the top is all blurred out right here. Now, we know that there's blood.
I do want to stop for a minute because when they make statements, and maybe you guys can speak to this or not. When they make statements like you'll see they dropped their AED bag, that's important because that's what we need to know. Is it really an AED bag? Now, what you will see on the side of the bag is it says MPD for Moscow Police Department. I don't know. I've seen the words AED. It could be an AED. And for those who don't know what an AED bag and why it's relevant is, an AED is a defibrillator device. It's for basically shocking somebody back to life, or if their heart stopped or whatever, it's to help get the heart going again. It's a defibrillator device. So what she's kind of trying to make the connection here is that someone placed a defibrillator device down by what she's saying they're hiding. That is there a body there, and is that why the defibrillator device was put down right beside where there could be a body being hidden? That's the allegation she should make. Now, again, me playing devil's advocate and being not a super fan of enhanced audios and enhanced videos and all these different things, I have to ask myself, well, first, have we even established for sure that's an AED bag, or is it some other kind of bag? But just for what it's worth, do you guys know for sure that's an AED bag, or are we just all presuming it because she said it's an AED? Like, I'm not trying to say she's lying, but like, do we know for sure that's an AED bag?
I think
bag,
earlier, I think earlier in the video you see the officer carry it in, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'd have to. I'm not going to say 100%. Like, if we actually took this body camera video, we would have to. We'd have to check. I think you'll see when it's brought in, and we probably could and check from then.
And I realize not everybody's a fan of what I do, but the reason why I do it is every time you hear a dog barking, that doesn't mean you just heard Murphy bark. Every time you see something that has a certain shape that looks like a gun doesn't mean it was a gun. And just because you see a bag on the floor doesn't mean it is an AED device. So again, when you label something, it's you have to be careful. That's all I'm saying. Be careful.
But what's super important about this, though, whether it's a body or whether, I mean, if it is indeed an AED bag, that's a huge thing. That very high chance that there could be a body. But even if it's not an AED bag, and even if it's some other bag, and why are they massively blocking out what's underneath here? And just for the record, I do think it means that there's a pool. It's either a body or it's some kind of pool of blood. If it's a pool of blood, well, this is like right outside Dylan's room. Well, they said that Kaylee and Maddie were killed upstairs, and Zan and Ethan were killed in the bedroom. So why is there a pool of blood outside?
In the hall or out in the living room?
Yeah.
And DA, somebody in the chat, somebody I just wanted to point out, two people, I saw at least two comments in the chat that you can see him pull that bag out of his trunk of his car. Will you be able to see what it is?
Yeah. And I'm not doubting that it's an officer's bag. I'm asking, is it an AED? And to be fair, like I was trying to say a couple times, is I do think it is an AED bag. I'm just telling you that before we run with all it's proven they just said an AED bag, and that means therefore it has to be a body. And all the jumps to conclusions you make, you're going to look like an idiot if you find out that wasn't an AED bag. So let's be careful that we don't go down. It likely is. But I just want to be careful because that's how you get discredited is you jump on something and you find out your whole narrative you built was based on a false assumption. So,
but no matter what, they still block out. They still block out what's underneath. So,
yeah. Let's continue with that.
Xana's, that was well documented. Okay, that was well documented when the forensics came out. So there is blood on this cart right here. That is Xana's. Look at his camera. He's taking a picture of the knife, of course. We see that. But there were other things on this table that were blurred out. Get ready. There is either a body there or a big, big gush of blood. There has to be. And I'm going to show you when he comes right back around. And I'm going to show, he's taking a picture of the bathroom. He comes right back around. And this is where they block it out. Whoever blurred this did not do a good job. So that's the bathroom with the washer and dryer, which there were some clothes.
High intensity bright light on the floor. Is that the body cam? Does it have an illuminating light on the body cam that's making that flashlight spot on the ground?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I think too. But
in there, allegedly. I know I read that somewhere. I think it was in the documents that they seized them. And obviously they've blacked this out.
Did you know that the tiny hairs inside your ear never grow back once they're damaged?
Pay the YouTube
I'm 78,
some,
but I can hear like I was 27. Let me show you how these men went from...
You know, if I was polite, I would watch the whole commercial so that she gets full credit for the runtime. I'm an asshole, so I can't blame it if people do that to me.
He comes back over to the front room in a few minutes.
She goes a little ahead, and you get another good view of under the table.
All right.
In a second.
Here they come around. Comes around with this camera. Here we go. Coming back to here. Now there's the bag here that's red. That's where the other officer dropped it. He's going to swing back around, and you're going to look right here where they have blurred this entire area out. Do you see this down here on the floor behind, right underneath the ping pong table, all the way into where Dylan's room is right here? Can you guys see that?
Now, I know this isn't the focus, but I also notice other weird shit when I'm looking at it. That bottle right there wasn't there when you first came in. That bothered me right off the bat. Yep. When you first come in and swing across there, I looked for this bottle when I watched it again. That bottle wasn't there. Now all of a sudden there's a bottle. So in the time that he went down the hallway, took a picture, did an officer have a beer and set it down? Like where did that fucking bottle come from? Anyways.
Blurring. That blurring, and I will take a picture of it real quick so you can see it. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to add this here to my image. This is the area where they have seriously blurred all right here. There is blood here. We know that from the documents. There is blood on the table that is Kaylee's. We know that from the documents. But all this blood down here, there's either a body here or a big blur pool of blood here. So whatever happened here, and someone has moved the table in the way. Okay. Now that busts the whole narrative. Obviously, we knew they were not asleep. We knew that they were not in their beds. This blows away the whole narrative that they were indeed sleeping. They weren't sleeping.
Yep. Yeah.
As hard as they fought, they weren't sleeping. So here we
and I want to point out another thing too.
And the table was moved.
Blood is on the second. If Kaylee's blood was on the second floor, and if that's confirmed in the documents. Now that's the part that I was like trying to look at to see, was Kaylee's blood confirmed in the documents? Let's take for a minute that Kaylee's blood was confirmed down there on the second floor. I've said from the very beginning, cross-contamination between the two rooms are going to tell you what order it happened in. Yep. There's only two ways Kaylee's blood is on the second floor and not on the third floor. Either Kaylee started on the second floor and she got stabbed down there and ran up the stairs, or the attack started on the third floor and then the killer brought Kaylee's blood back down to the second floor when he came down. And I've said from the beginning, you're going to know what order it happened in based on blood transfer from one scene to the other. Now, I'd be surprised because when we talk about Xana's blood was here and Kaylee's blood was here, there's no talk about Maddie's blood. So I want to know how fundamentally you could kill Maddie upstairs and not track some of her blood downstairs as well. So anyways, all I'm saying is we're not going to solve the case right now in this moment, but when you talk about Kaylee's blood being on the second floor, it either suggests the killer started up, and again, the killer either started on the third floor and then came back down after killing them, and that's why Kaylee's blood got down there, or Kaylee was on the second floor originally, and that's why Dylan said initially, I think Kaylee's on the second floor, because she did say that at one point that she expected Kaylee to be on the second floor. So was Kaylee on the second floor? Either way you slice it, the official story is not correct.
No, correct, right.
Is there more that we should watch on this?
No, that's about, that's it.
That's pretty good. That's
it. And,
so what do you guys think?
Well, she did confirm just later on in the video. So it is confirmed the ping pong table was moved because there are pictures through the window. So they definitely moved that table to whatever, hide blood or body or whatever is over there. That completely conflicts with their narrative that they told us.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, what does that tell us? I mean, it tells us that, again, at the end of the day,
it tells us that they weren't. I mean,
exactly what order happened.
Well, no, but it tells us that confirms that they weren't all sleeping. I mean, you're not going to find
right.
How are they?
I don't.
You know, even if you want to believe, okay, they were sleeping, and then one or two of them, you know, woke up in the middle of the sleep. Well, you're not going to find a pool of blood outside of Dylan's room.
No.
Well, and they've numerous times confirmed that there was defensive wounds, and you don't have defensive wounds in your sleep. So
Right.
defensive wounds indicates some kind of struggle and fight back and as well. But so I mean, I don't know.
Just another thing, DA, real quick, or just to add something. I mean, the obvious is if things were moved around and we were given this narrative, then part of what has obviously taken place is they staged part of the scene, right? Whatever that means. If a table was moved, if bodies were only recorded as being in one place, but their blood were in other areas, well, then that implies staging of the scene.
Right.
So it's
Which
that right there raises a lot of questions.
Yes.
Right. Which would be why Anne had that expert ballistics and crime scene reconstruction expert slated to testify. That would totally explain that.
Because remember, you know, now watching that, I mean, remember they blocked it out. So that's not like small little blood droplets.
No.
There's a pool. It's either a body or it's a pool of blood. And I almost tend to think that it's, you know, maybe it's more of a pool of blood, but then again, it does seem like that is an AED that's right there. And that you would put an AED would be right near a body. So it's highly.
So again, it begs the question, why? Is it really that we believe in America that we need to be protected from ourselves and we can't see blood or we'll just freak out, and so they're hiding the blood from us because they're just saving us from ourselves? You don't want to see this. This is too gruesome, so we protected you for your own. I mean, a lot of times, even in the Luigi Manjone case, which we're going to move to very quickly because I want to spend some time on it. Even the Luigi Manjone case, they kept showing the shooter raise the gun and then they stopped showing the footage. Even though there's no blood in the shooting you can see, but they don't show it to you because it's too graphic content for you to see somebody get shot, even though there's no blood. So are they just protecting us from ourselves and blurring stuff out because they're trying to help you? Or is it evidence of that they're trying to lie about the official story? That's what you need to ask yourself at the end of the day. Is it just protecting you, or is there something afoot, some misdirection that they're trying to do so that you don't ask questions about hey, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How does, that's the question. Are they hiding something that they're afraid that people are going to see and go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense?
Hey, DA, do you have video of the Brian Thompson, the actual event?
Yes.
Because this is one of the things that struck me like immediately after I saw the video, right after, it was circulating.
Yeah. Right.
Now, again, in the moment, you're told this happened, right? It's presented to you. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He steps into the camera frame and there's Brian Thompson walks by and this guy comes out of the shadows. The way that Brian Thompson reacted, in my opinion, looked fake. Like if you look at that video now, the event happened a while ago. If you look at that, to me, it looked like somebody acting like they were shot. Like just the way he moved. Again, I'm just saying, like, when you look at things, if you're told this is basic psychology, this is what happened, most people will view that event with that information in their head. Like, oh, this guy just got shot and killed. It's Psych 101. We're all suggestible, highly suggestible. But if you look at it and say, let me take a look at this and just pretend I don't know that this guy was killed, and you look at that video, to me, it looked like somebody that was acting as if they were shot. I know that's a little off the rails, but it's just something. That's why I've asked in the past to show that video again, because
I will I will show the video again right now, if with a caveat for those who don't want to see it. It's not super graphic, but it is the unedited footage. It's not the ones you see on TV where they stop it right when the shots are fired. So I will show that. We're gonna move to Luigi Manjone then officially, and we're gonna start out with watching the clip, and then I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what's happening in the suppression hearings and what happened in day 3 suppression hearings today, and what my take about it is. So again, as a caveat for those who do not want to see it, I'm going to show footage of the shooting of Brian Thompson by the alleged shooter. Let us not forget that we don't know who's shooting it. The man is in a mask, so we don't know for sure who it is. Allegedly, it's Luigi Manjone, but he has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. So I'm not going to tell you this is Luigi shooting this person. In fact, there's reason to believe that this was a professional hitman if it happened. Or, as Joe says, maybe it's not even a real shooting. Who knows? But it's not going to be, I don't know how to get it much bigger on the screen than that I've got. So I'm hoping that I can show it. Can I get it that big? I'm trying to get it preloaded for you here. It's not horribly big. That's what she said. Hold on a second. I can't, I'm a toddler. I can't get over opportunities. I'm sorry. Sorry. All right. Let me pause this. It won't let me pause. All right, I paused it finally. So in order to get a pause, I have to get it to only a certain size. All right, I'm going to put it on screen. Again, as a warning to anybody who hasn't seen this, this is the, it's really tiny. That's what she said, apparently. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to play it as best I can. This is, again, is the footage of the shooting of Brian Thompson. If you are squeamish, again, no blood. There's no blood in this. However, it is disturbing for some people, so take it for what it is. That's enough caveats. Let's go. I gotta hit the right play button. All right, so we'll play it one more time.
It's convenient how he falls in the shadow. I mean, it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems very perfectly framed, perfectly staged in the camera.
Right there, right as it happened, there was a buffering. Let's try that again so there's not buffering, so you can see it in motion.
And his gun jam, too.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that was the shooting, you know, and to your point, Joe, I mean, you know, maybe it looks a little, you know, the story is, from what I understand, the story is Brian Thompson was first hit in the leg. And so that's their explanation of why he kind of shimmy shakes to the side and stuff like that. He's limping because he's dragging the leg that he got shot in, and then he was shot in the back, I think. And so that would be the answer for why he had that.
What? Let me ask you this. Let's do a logic experiment. What are the chances that it just so happened to be it happened when he was walking perfectly in frame of a security camera? This person walks out of the shadows perfectly in frame. When they're both perfectly in frame, and then
right.
Thompson just so happens to fall in an area that's not lit up. I mean, could it be, again, I'm just saying, it's like, just do basic statistical analysis. What are the chances that, yes, there's cameras everywhere, but literally Thompson walks perfectly in frame. The shooter steps perfectly into frame, perfectly, as if it was like, it's almost like it was staged that way. To me, it's just statistically, yes, you could have caught it on a camera, but perfectly in frame like that, both of them perfectly.
Well, and to further that a little bit, I've always had problems with. I thought it was suspicious that before the shooter does the shooting, I've always thought this was suspicious. Before the shooter does the shooting, the shooter also stops and pauses right in front of a camera to set down a water bottle that they've been using and putting their fingerprints all over barehanded, and sets it down in direct view of a camera, as if wanting to draw attention. Hey, look, here's me placing my DNA at the scene. I said, what in the world? Like, you couldn't have like planned to put it there any more obviously on camera. So of course the argument is he didn't know there was a camera there. I argue it did. Is that the case? And the other weirdness about that is Luigi Manjone was arrested apparently with gloves in his possession. So if he had gloves, why barehand the weapon in the first place? Why barehand the water bottle in the first place? If you have gloves, why would you do that? Of course, he wasn't arrested for 5 days after the event, so maybe he bought a pair of gloves in between. But the point being is that it leads a lot of questions to the question: did they want it to be staged a certain way so that you would be like, there's no question, this is the person, and here he is holding the gun barehanded, and here he is leaving his DNA at the scene, and by the way, he left chewing gum in his backpack at the scene, so we've got his saliva DNA. There's no question he's the guy. Is the whole thing just, as you would say, too convenient? Go ahead, Robin. Oh, Robin's muted. Why is she muted? I'm going to unmute Robin. Okay, Robin just probably unmuted herself at the same time I did, and now we're fighting over.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. I muted myself because I was kind of mumbling to myself. When you were there, can you tell? I was trying to also go back and look at the video on a different monitor here. What door was he trying to go in? It doesn't look like he's going in. Isn't the main door like right there? Why does it look to me like he's walking on to some other door?
Well, there's multiple entrances to the building, and that was a side entrance to the building, not the front entrance. And so the argument was, I think, that he was going around to the front entrance, and so past the side entrance or something to that effect. There's multiple entrances. There's one from the back side. There's one from the front side. And so, yeah, he did pass a doorway that could have led him into the hotel there, but maybe he was going around to the other entrance. But yeah.
Okay, so that entrance there where this happened, that is a side entrance. It's not the main entrance into like the big entrance to the hotel.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I always thought,
and it seems to me that
that was the main entrance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think it was a side entrance, and there was another one on the other side, and so the question is, which entrance was he going into? But apparently, he passed that entrance to go to the other ones, which also leads to how did the shooter know he was going to be coming past that side entrance? Or I don't know. There's a lot of questions in the story.
Look, just so to point out why I think like this is Brian Thompson was supposed to testify in an antitrust case. Right. Big money is involved with stuff like that. Okay. So yes, and if it was Joe Schmo who got shot walking down the street in that same scenario, I wouldn't even think twice about it. I wouldn't think any possibility of a staging or it was a corporate hit or anything like that. But is it possible? I'm just speculating because I haven't done that much with this case. Is it possible that the powers that be knew that bad things were going to come out potentially in this antitrust court case, right? So either the obvious, all right, he gets taken out, corporate hit, corporate espionage, or when trillions of dollars are on the line, because across a span of time, it's not billions, it's trillions.
Yeah.
Could you stage at the highest levels of power and intelligence agencies, stage a killing of a guy to save your company potentially a lot of, criminal cases or billions or even more than billions in money over a given amount of time?
It's hilarious to say this because I feel like we need to have Jason Estes on here when I say this, because here's the thing. And I know this is going to be the opposite of the reasoning that you're saying, but hear me out. Just like you were saying, Thompson was set to testify in a major case by the Department of Justice looking into antitrust violations and other things and potential money insider trading issues. So here's the other question. Was his death staged so that people would think that he was dead so that he can go into a witness protection program and testify against people in this case? Did they stage a nationally televised quote unquote murder that never happened because he is going to be the star witness in a major worth trillions of dollars case for the Department of Justice? And did they stage his murder on national TV so people would think he was dead so that they can bring him in and testify in that big case?
See, I would say I would have to strongly oppose that narrative because what, as I say all the time, what looks more effective to make it look like the Department of Justice is trying to crack down on antitrust, or to actually have a case where they themselves might be implicated for overlooking crimes, financial crimes, that they could be the government, not necessarily DOJ, could be implicated in, such as insider trading within our government. Okay, so wouldn't it be really effective to make it you don't ever want it to appear that you're not pursuing justice, right? So this guy, again, I'm only saying this because of the level of power and money that's involved with these types of things. I don't think this way about every case that I see. It's just, it so happens that there's always big money on the line with these high profile cases. So
this has an enormous
found
amount
it
of
strange that it's just that he's coming out of a side entrance of the hotel early in the morning, just casually walking, and this guy just perfectly walks into frame, and it's all captured perfectly on camera. Like it was almost staged. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible.
And I have a whole section on my website, devilsadvocates.info. If you go to devilsadvocates.info and you look at the Luigi Manjone page, you'll see I've got a whole section of stuff in there about follow the money, all about how this is a huge, huge money case. And so if it's a huge money case, there's even a scenario in which the industry, the health insurance industry, will want Brian Thompson dead if he was to rat against them in what they were doing, or turning against them in any way, shape, or form, or maybe just for losing them a ton of money because they were under investigation by the Department of Justice under his watch. Maybe they were like, you just cost us trillions of dollars. So there's a lot of people who could have wanted Brian Thompson dead, and people with big money. So can those people, for whatever reason you want to go down, stage that?
I agree. I totally agree with you. I would think that would be more plausible, that it was a corporate hit or a power hit. But I'm just saying that the way it appeared to be so perfectly staged, that's the only reason why I even brought that up. It's that one thing, not because I agree with you.
I want to answer Tiggo Betty's questions first real quick, and then I'll get back to one more caveat about the whole who did it and why scenario. Yes, there's a street that runs right there with car traffic. As well, right across the street is a side alley that is kind of a foot traffic / bike traffic kind of thing. It's actually a numbered street. It's like 6.5 or something like that. So yes, there's the cars go down the road right there as well. And there's actually cars on footage that you can see going by at the time as well. The shooter actually had to stop for a car and then jog across the street. And then there's actually a side alleyway as well that the shooter allegedly went through, got on an e-bike, rode into Central Park. I walked those steps myself when I was in New York and kind of tried to follow as much as possible that path to kind of see what it looked like. And it's pretty interesting. 6.5 kind of runs into, it seems like, to other buildings where it becomes walkways where it's just foot traffic. And there was a point where I was, by the way, just as an aside, there was a point where I realized Luigi Manjone, to do the path that I think that they're saying he did, he had to have ridden against traffic for a very short period of time. Not long, but like a half a block, he would have ridden against traffic to make a turn into Central Park where they said he entered. So that was interesting to me, having walked it boots on the ground. But so thanks for that question. But to answer the question, one of the things I always said was, and I don't want to say how I feel about this. I just want to say that there's a lot of people in America who view Luigi Manjone as a potential martyr for the rest of us, right? That this is a predatory healthcare system, the largest health insurance company in the United States, United Healthcare, managing all our Medicare, Medicaid plans, they were employing the use of AI to increase the number of rejections for people's claims so that their shareholders would make more money. So they were purposely using AI, which was something like 84% of the time wrong in rejecting people's claims. And they were playing a game of denying everyone's claims, hoping people wouldn't fight it, wouldn't appeal it, or they'd run out of time on their appeals and they would just lose the coverage. And therefore, literally, people were dying, potentially in the thousands, so that the company could make more money for their shareholders. And so there's a large part of the population who views whoever shot Brian Thompson was sending a message. Enough fucking the little people. We're tired of it. So one man dying, I don't give a shit. You kill thousands of people by your practices. So that's the way that a lot of people are understanding Luigi Manjone. And I said, how horrible is it going to be? How horrible is it going to be for everyone that thinks that way if it's a corporate hit? That the greedy, manipulative, predatory healthcare system itself is the one that took out Brian Thompson because he lost them money for their shareholders, or he was going to testify against them in Congress and Department of Justice. And so they murdered him and framed it on somebody else to silence him because he was going to cost them even more money. And will that change everything and everybody's opinion about the whole shooting? So it's a really interesting, nuanced case. And I'm super excited to see where it goes. Well, excited's not the right word because a person's life's on the line. Excited's not the right word. Let me put, I'm interested. I'm intrigued to see. I think this is going to be a landmark case. I say this all the time. I think it's going to change things. I know, Joe, you're like, I don't think it's going to change dick, and you may be right at the end of the day. But I'm hoping for the best. So let me get we're going to talk a little bit about Luigi Manjone, and then we'll wrap up because we're getting into the second hour. We're getting close to going to second hours. I never go past 2 hours. I got to shut the fuck up. Tell me to shut up. Wait, hold on.
It's all
Give
good
me a second. I do have a major. I got a major lag, so I really want to not over. I don't want to miss the suppression hearings and what happened today. Really cool because it also has a great moment for the press and for what we're doing. And again, a teaser for what I'm trying to do in the Idaho 4 case comes out in today's suppression hearings. So I've got it on screen now. Day 3 of the suppression hearings. These are some actual photos from the courtroom today. Luigi Manjone looking pretty good for the ladies out there who like the look of Luigi Manjone. By the way, they're saying that this case is prejudiced because people like him because he's a good-looking Italian man, and so their people are treating him like a rock star for a horrible deed of killing somebody else. So take that for what it is.
He's looking good for the men too, DA.
I know that. I know. Yeah, I saw a YouTuber, a male YouTuber said, I think I just got pregnant when he looked at the camera. I was like, I get it. You can't get pregnant, but well, in today's day and age, we can do anything. But point being is that this is what I wanted to feature. In day two of the suppression hearings, the defense asked actually to suppress evidence to not be shown to the public, which I thought was a very interesting move. Judge Carl asked the prosecution if they had any objection to suppressing the evidence and putting a gag order on some of the evidence so that the public wouldn't see it. And they had no objection. And so Judge Carl said, we're then going to suppress and gag this information so it doesn't go out to the press. This individual who I've been following on X, Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee, filed this letter to the court and said to Judge Carl, you are wrong. They actually cited the law, and they cited the law wrong. They cited a law that said that we should block and suppress this so the public doesn't see it because it's going to be prejudicial to our client. And the press said, you are wrong about that law. I looked up the law and it actually says the opposite. You must address the press's questions. The press must have the option to be able to address the question. And in a big win for Matthew Russell Lee, he filed that letter to Judge Carl that night. They took the day off the next day. They came back in court, and then they said, here it is. Judge Carl at 3 hours in said, or 3 hours ago from when this was written, a number of exhibits will be made available now. A number of exhibits will be made available at the DA's office's Dropbox shortly. That was announced by Judge Carl. And then he responds, Inner City Press, in response to the question and without trying to gloat or take any away from Judge Carl's decision to reconsider on December 2nd. So it is, so at this time, I will seal every exhibit until we start the trial. At this time, it's sealed. So that ruling of the court is not anymore. So in other words, he's saying, look, Judge Carl said, seal all the records. We won't show anybody. Intercity Press filed a letter to the judge, said, you're wrong about the law. You need to reconsider. And then Judge Caro actually announced, we're going to go ahead and release some of this stuff to the public, even after he said he was going to seal it. And basically Intercity Press is like, we just want a victory, because I just pointed out the press has to be able to have access to this. So it was kind of an interesting moment. I thought great win for that guy. Very cool. I know that not everybody's excited about that kind of shit as I am. Here's another post from Intercity Press. Jacob Kaplan, who's an attorney in this. If I could fast forward to 10:16, does Officer Wasser, that's Christy Wasser, have a backpack on a folding chair? Fry, who's a police officer under and on the stand, says yes. Jacob Kaplan says, that's when she said, there's a weapon? And he says, yes. And he goes, and that blue thing next to the jeans, does that say NYPD? Fry says, yes, it does. And so Jacob Kaplan says, is it part of your policy of an Altoona Police Department to take photos of NYPD for NYPD? And he's like, no. It was an interesting thing because they brought up the fact that NYPD officer Oscar Diaz shows up during the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and then takes essentially photo ops with Luigi Manjone's stuff and the search of his gear, and places an item of NYPD's in the picture. So they got proof that NYPD is kind of part of this. And they're like, is it your policy to take pictures for NYPD at Altoona, Pennsylvania? Like, no. I thought it was an interesting moment. Not a blockbuster. It's just one of those kind of nuanced little things that they talk about in the courtroom. Jacob Kaplan, did you ever participate in a strip search for forgery? Why is that interesting? Because Luigi Manjone's problem, they said, was that he provided false identification and that he had forged documents. Yet they took him to the police station and stripped him down and did a full strip search. So we said, is there a policy to strip search people for forgery? Well, no, not really. So they're going to ask the question. So why in Luigi Manjone's case are you stripping them down? Some interesting things that came out in the suppression hearings day 3 was that they talked about a bus ticket that was found in Luigi Manjone's possession, they say, that was from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh in the name of Sam Dawson. I've never heard that name before, so that was an interesting thing that caught my attention. Again, Luigi Manjone used an ID of Mark Rosario when they stopped him, and when they asked him his name, he said his name was Mark, and then later on when they said, well, now that you're telling us you're Luigi Manjone, why did you give us the name Mark Rosario? And his answer was, well, that was the ID I had in my wallet, which is an interesting answer to the police officer. Well, why did you tell us your name was Mark? Well, because that was the ID I had in my wallet. Okay, what the hell does that mean? But here's what, I've never heard Sam Dawson's name. So I did a little digging today to try to find out if I could find anything about Sam Dawson. Is it a name that's important to the gaming community? Because we know Luigi Manjone is a big gamer. Is it a name associated with medical association or the healthcare system? I couldn't find anything anywhere. So it may be a no, never mind. But all you internet sleuths out there, maybe you want to answer, who is Sam Dawson? Why was Sam Dawson an alias, supposedly? Or how do we explain a bus ticket in Luigi Manjone's possession by the name of Sam Dawson? Is it a co-conspirator? Because I've also said that there's a reason to believe that this was not one person. So is Sam Dawson somebody else? Is the real shooter Sam Dawson? Oh, there's Sam. Sam, hey, welcome to the show. Sam Dawson in the house. I'm assuming that's tongue in cheek, but so. And then NYPD Detective Oscar Diaz was brought up by the DA. I thought that was super interesting because I thought the defense was going to be the one to say, why is it that Oscar Diaz from NYPD showed up at the arrest and the inventory of his bag 5 hours after his arrest? Why did I thought that would be a question the defense would want an answer to. It was actually the district attorney who brought it up first. Did you know that Oscar Diaz was there? And I'm like, wow, is that a preemptive strike? Like they're trying to pretend like, hey, we're not afraid to admit that New York PD, NYPD showed up. Yeah, we know it. We brought it up in court. It's a weird move. So that's about it for Luigi Manjone, other than to say, so far it has been relatively unspectacular in the courtroom. There was a moment, by the way, when Mark Agnifilo, and for those who aren't super familiar with the case, Mark Agnifilo just got done recently representing P. Diddy in the P. Diddy case. He was the lead attorney on P. Diddy's case. Mark Agnifilo now joins his wife, Karen Agnifilo, as a co-defense for Luigi Manjone, with Karen taking the lead. But Mark Agnifilo was set to cross-exam, I think, Detective Fox on the stand tomorrow. However, actually today, he was supposed to do it today. And so there was a moment in the court where I didn't quite understand it. I'm probably going to get it a little wrong. There's a moment where they announced in the court that Officer Fox would not be in court today And Mark Ignifilo got a little irritated and said, Your Honor, I have another case tomorrow. I can't do it tomorrow. And I'm the one that's supposed to cross-exam Fox. And basically it sounded like they said, sorry, you're just going to have to be flexible. Like you're just going to have to not be here. Somebody else will have to do the cross. So that's kind of a little irritating because it looks like the judge didn't budge on, sorry, Fox isn't here. So you're not going to be able to interrogate him today. It's going to be tomorrow. And yeah, we changed the plan, but you have to be flexible. And so I don't know how that impacts the case in any way, shape, or form. I think it's probably relatively minor. I don't think the interrogation of Fox or the cross-examination of Fox is going to be monumental to the case. Whatever the case may be, so far, it's relatively a no, never mind thing. To wrap up how I think things are going, the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania of Luigi Manjone was an illegal arrest, in my opinion. He was unlawfully detained, searched, and seized before he was read his Miranda rights. I think they made a massive, both attorneys, the attorney that he has in Pennsylvania, as well as the attorney he has in New York, made a massive complaint to the judges in those cases on both those jurisdictions that it was an illegal arrest, and no one has ruled on it yet. Judge Caro is going to rule on that arrest here at the end of these suppression hearings. I don't know how he's going to rule. I feel like if he rules the right way, he's going to rule that it was an illegal arrest. The prosecution has already started to set up their alternative path, which is we've got people who are in the correctional facility who heard Luigi Manjone talking about having the gun, talking about having foreign currency, talking about having grievances with the health system. So if you toss out all the evidence because it was an illegal search and seizure, we'll just bring people in who can testify he talked about it when he was in jail. So we'll see how that plays out. So far, no fireworks from the defense. It's been relatively muted, but I think the fireworks are coming. I think, and maybe partly the reason why the fireworks aren't there is because those letters that they wrote, those 40-page letters talking about why it was illegal, are all on the record. Like the judge already knows what their argument is. Does he have to hear it too? Like he already knows what their argument is. So, anyways, for what it's worth, I know this isn't the biggest case for all of us. Do you guys want to talk at all about Luigi Manjone before we close for the night?
I think for the long game, I'm going to bet on the long game that the case will be either dragged on for a while and continue to get a lot of media attention. And if he does get convicted, that I predict his conviction will get overturned at some point down the line. I know that's, you'd have to wait quite a while to see if that plays out or not, but that's what I think is going to happen most likely.
What are you thinking, Robin, before we get to let's save one last, because he's NYPD and I just called out NYPD officers showing up in the, so since you're on the hook, not representing NYPD, Robin, let's go with you first. What are your thoughts, feelings about the Luigi Manjone case so far?
So far, I think that the defense has been super smart. I think they know exactly where they're going, exactly what they're doing. And either, kind of like you said, they've laid everything out previously, or they're going to wait until the very last moment to really make a big splash. I think that they're just that good between the two of them and the rest of the team, for that matter, that they know how to kind of, I don't want to call it play the courtroom, but how to make the big impacts. So this is going to be extremely interesting to watch.
I'll tell you two things, though, by the way, too. So far, it seems to me that the prosecution is the one that's calling people to the stand, and the defense is cross-examining. I have no idea if the defense has people queued up to go to the stand, and so maybe the fireworks come when the defense gets to call their witnesses, because it seems right now it's DA putting people on the stand to establish what happened and why the arrest was totally legitimate, and then and again, it relatively muted. The only part that it was so muted, but all that Karen Ignifilo said at one point to one of the officers was, "You are aware of what Miranda rights are, right?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "No further questions." Like that's all I got to say. Like it's almost like you could talk all day long, but you know what Miranda rights are, right? Because that's where we're just going to go back to the Miranda right issue in a minute here, and then you're done. So again, not representing NYPD. Give us your thoughts on how you think it should play out, and how you think it might play out, and what do you think the judge is going to rule? Do you have any thoughts on what your guesses are on that?
Yeah, I think the judge. I think he's going to watch really closely that the body camera footage of the arrest. Of what transpired. Um, the order of events is extremely important. Like how he was questioned, all that stuff. If it's easily seen, proven from the body camera that he wasn't free to leave, and that it looks like the officers are just trying to, after the fact. Oh, I thought he had a bomb in there, and we searched his bag. And,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they got to be real careful because they could even be brought up on perjury charges or whatnot. It's a serious thing. You sign your name to an affidavit. So if it's proven that he was not under arrest, I mean, it could almost, I could see the defense even arguing, okay, they're saying, oh, he spoke to some guards and whatnot, but I mean, the defense could even argue he shouldn't have even been in custody to begin with. Like again, it's all
I will.
It's all
I will.
Fruits of the poisonous tree.
For sure. And I want to add, like Silenced Unchained said, and I didn't see this, that the defense does have 2 officers they're planning on bringing on the stand. So that's super interesting because, again, I didn't see what the defense has for who their witnesses are. But I will tell you this, a moment in the arrest that I thought was poignant, and I can't help but put my own spin on it, was a moment where I don't know if it's a senior officer or a more savvy officer sees what's happening and literally says, you have already told him he's under investigation and read his Miranda rights, right? And he says, no. And he basically was like, what the fuck are you doing? It was like, he's literally like, read him his rights right now. And so what happened is the guy was still a moron, in my opinion, and said, by the way, you're under investigation for the shooting in New York, and still doesn't read his Miranda rights, continues the investigation, only does 1/2. So you've got this officer, and maybe that's who the defense is bringing in. An officer will say, what's your department's policy? Do you need to read him his rights? Did you not tell the officer, read him his fucking Miranda rights, and you just ignored it and continue the interrogation? So I wouldn't be surprised that that's who you see on the stand.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that officer's name off the top of my head. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, my feeling is, there was no question that was an illegal arrest. It should be ruled that way. Judge Caro has already, to his credit, made a monumental decision in the favor of the defense, which was that when the state charged Luigi Manjone with first-degree murder in the furtherance of an act of terrorism, Judge Caro said, you cannot use terrorism. Luigi Manjone is not a terrorist. He doesn't fit the definition of terrorist. And so I'm dropping the first-degree murder in furtherance of an act of terrorism. That was a huge win for the defense. And it was a rule that even Ali Benevento, my attorney friend from South Carolina, said she was surprised that Caro had the stones to do that, because that was a big move for a judge to make that kind of ruling and say, look, that's not a terrorist act. You can't do that. So where I'm going with that is, he's already had the stones once to rule, surprisingly. Will he also rule correctly, in my opinion, on the arrest that was not Mirandized and say that was an illegal arrest? So that's my thoughts for the day. Thank you all for the panelists coming in. Sorry we didn't get to talk at all today about Charlie Kirk. I had some slides queued up for it, but frick, I write too long and I talk too long, and I went an hour and a half on Idaho. I normally try to keep that to an hour and then like a half hour for 2 other cases each. And instead I went an hour and a half on Idaho 4, which I didn't even think we had enough to talk about. Mostly it was me reading those letters. But again, one more time, can we get that GoFundMe page up? If anybody believes in the letter writing campaign, I'm going to put that slide up on screen as well too.
Yep. Let me put it in the chat. Quick.
And so hopefully we can get some support for this, because again, this is, I got to remove, what have I got to remove? There it is. It's going to cost us money to put pressure on this. I I assure you, I am not going to take any personal money from this. I'm not going to go take my wife out to dinner with the money you donate for the letter writing campaign. All the money that goes into that fund will be to cover the costs of certified letters going to Moscow PD, Pullman PD, Whitman County Sheriff Office, Idaho State Police, if I didn't list them already, and maybe even all the way up to the District Attorney's Office in Idaho. So that's where that money is going to go. And I assure you, I have so many more letters to do. I'm going to go broke trying to write letters. I need some help. So if you believe in the cause of transparency and you believe in this channel's mission, try to donate $20, something to help us out, cover some postage, and let me send another 4 letters. You give me 20 something bucks and I can send at least a couple letters, maybe 3 letters. So consider it. I know it's the horrible time of year. It's Christmas. Everybody's busy buying stuff for Christmas and they're tapped out. So don't forget me when it comes February. I'll remind you when it comes that time. But anyways, thank you, panelists, for the great show again tonight. I feel like I've owe you guys a bit of an apology. I spent so much time talking and you guys had very little space to talk tonight. So I will try to give you guys some more room in the future to do things. But thank you guys for listening to me rant for most of the time. And don't forget, Luigi Manjone is an enormous case. I don't mean to put it out such a small, giving it a half hour of an hour and a half show. That case is a monumental case. For those people who question my desire to follow that case, I am all in, even though YouTube, TikTok suppresses us for talking about Luigi Manjone. I'm going to keep doing it. It's a major case that I want to follow. It's important to me. The whole plight is important to me. So thank you, everyone. Yeah, until tomorrow, I guess. We'll see who we show up for the panel tomorrow. But for those who don't know, by the way, we have a Substack page. If you want to get show notes for the show because you're going to miss a show in the future, sign up for my Substack at devilsdocket.substack.com. Joe, by the way, has a Substack as well, stateofthedeep.substack.com. But sign up for our newsletters. Make sure you get notified on that. That way, if you miss a show, you at least know what the show point and the talking points for the day are. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.